Hey everybody, Obey the Papaya here again with another video. So we're getting Grim.exe dropping tomorrow, and I kind of want to make a video. This is a first time video with a new hero. That I wanted to try something out, which was kind of like try and look and see what kind of builds that we could get. So I formulated a few builds. I'm not a big theory crafter. I'm not very big on making my own builds and all that. But this character is very unique, where you're going to see the ability for him to scale off both physical and magical damage, and all his damage, all his basic attack damage. Yeah, sorry, not basic attack damage per se. All his physical power will be converted to basically magical power damage, right? So this is something, from his passive, that is. This is something that's kind of unique to Predecessor. I want to discuss that, and I wanted to kind of make a video on it. So let's get straight through it. So first, before we get on the build, I want to talk about skill order. I think this skill order is like gonna be pretty much guaranteed. So on Grim's build right here, we got the abilities where we got the passive, the basic attack, and the primary attack, the secondary, and the alternate. So looking at the overall scaling, it doesn't seem like the stance change is anything that important. When we look at it, at one stance change, we're getting basic attack restores 6, 7, 8, 10 mana. That's not important per level. Pulse cannon shot costs more mana, and it deals this amount of damage and applies a decaying slow, but it doesn't actually affect the damage. So I don't see a reason to really level this. The cooldown, nothing changes on this. So from looking at it, this is not the first level. The first level that we should level up. So we got the shield now to worry about, what to level first, and the Q, or the bowl that's gonna shoot. So the bowl, the displacement blast, we're gonna get the lower cooldown, and it's not drastic. It's not a big overall CD, and we're gonna get a pretty big increase in mana cost, right? But we're gonna see some pretty big damage numbers here. Getting to level 5, that's a pretty big number. 90 compared to 250 as we're leveling it up. The scaling stays the same throughout. But this makes it very likely that this is going to be the main thing that we want to level up. And when we look at the shield, right here, deflector shield, we're seeing that the CD also get drastically reduced, 3 seconds per on level, right? But you're just gonna get the missing mana. So from my point of view, what I'm going to be interested in leveling up first, right? We have it listed here. We're probably going to focus the Q for the insane amount of damage, right? Because it's going to be a really good amount of damage. Then the RMB, which is going to be our shield, and then the E, which is going to be our stance change, which isn't going to have much of an effect. And of course, whenever you can, you want to level up that ultimate, because that ult is going to scale very hard, and we'll discuss it. So here we go. Now, I'm a mid laner. Y'all know me as a mid laner. So I'm kind of interested in trying out some magic power builds, because that's where I feel more comfortable when it comes to building this character. So there's two things in terms of the crest that I would be interested in getting, right? I want to one-shot people is my goal. I call this the one-shot build, basically, right? You could go the Typhoon route, where it's going to be able to apply a lot of damage, right? Because the on-hit just looks so good on that character, like overall. But if you want to get a little bit riskier, right, and you're going to get the Obelisk, you're going to get 35 compared to 25 damage, and every single stack is going to add an extra magic power. In about 30 minutes, you should have basically about another 30 stacks, if you're going to be very efficient with farming this. So that's going to give you 65 magic power, which is going to help you when it comes to scaling and trying to last hit with your ultimate. Because, I mean, we're trying to get to the point where maybe we're going to be able to almost one hit with the ultimate, a nice Q combo, throw the ult out, it'll be pretty interesting, and completely eliminate squishies. And he has phenomenal scaling on his Q as well, like what, 70% scaling, I believe, on his primary ability, I should say. Yeah, 70% bonus, 75%. So I mean, you're gonna throw out a ton of damage, 250 plus when you're talking about having 300 to 400 magic power. You're gonna be dealing like 600 damage per Q, right? So it's gonna be absolutely crazy just kind of running this, and you have a little bit of haste. I mean, you're gonna have 35 haste. It's gonna be about a 5-second cooldown. So going on with it, if you do go the Obelisk route, you're gonna stack more. I would still go after that. I'd still go towards the more on hit, but because you still need basic attack. It scales really well with him. It'd be Prophecy. So throwing in Prophecy first item will allow you to farm a bit more, get some basic attacks in, You know, you still want to apply your true damage passive. It's a very, very strong ability. So I think Prophecy first, then taking out the Wraith Leggings, because Wraith Leggings is a phenomenal item. 80 magic power with 15 penetration. You need to get that pen. And then, you know, abilities deal 15% more magical damage when they're below 40% HP. I know it's not going to show it on the stream. It's a little unfortunate. I'm going to zoom in here, right? It's just something that happened with one of the updates with Omega City. But, you know, this is a phenomenal item, second item. It's the best mage item to get second item because it's so strong. And then we want Caustica. Now, the thing is, right, he can only do magic damage, basically. So we'll discuss this as we go on to carries, but even carries, there is no pen. Going Demolisher isn't going to work. And Demolisher is the meta right now for anyone that goes carry, right? So Caustica is going to ignore 40% of magical armor. And then you got the pen on top of that. You know, Caustica is going to be a phenomenal item. It's a very strong item simply because of the magic armor. Your mana regen is going to be really good on Grim overall, so I don't really see you needing mana per se, but the magic armor pen is worth it, you know. Next is Oblivion Crown. Oblivion Crown is a phenomenal item as well. It's very strong, but it's a very expensive item. So this is where I get a little bit where I would decide between Spellbreaker and Oblivion Crown as the fourth item. You know, because it's an expensive item. To build it, you need 2 1200s and another 1200. So it's going to take a while to really get that amount of cash that you might miss out on power spikes, right? I think it's also the most expensive item in the game. But it's a phenomenal item. It's going to help you scale even more, and it's going to make you an absolute beast. And then you got Spellbreaker. And the reason why I chose Spellbreaker is because of the increase your magical power by 20%. Imagine you just catch the ADC off, and they're half HP. Oh, with your spell shield on, you're gonna get an extra 20% magical power. You know, on top of that, that's gonna with your shield on. Like, you should be relatively safe with a Grim mid lane. You get to lob. You know, you're pretty safe overall. You get to lob. You got your spell shield already. I'm curious to see what spell shield will break first. That Spellbreaker spell shield or your E spell shield if you were to cast it. But this is what I want to really try out. Is, you know, I'll switch between Typhoon and Obelisk depending on what I think are. You know, since they're both on the same crest, you could decide on it. But I think, you know, if you stack Obelisk and you're against a really passive laner, you're solid. If you're a little bit aggressive and you need to kind of stack up on a bit of more basic attack damage, right? Got to be forward pressure. Then you go Typhoon, right? They're both very good items nonetheless. How much you're missing out isn't much, but we're trying to min and max here, baby. You know, and let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed something and I'm completely oblivious. Some other magic items that should be considered in my opinion. You know, you got Spirit of Ymir, and because it's gonna give you some lifesteal, it gives you cooldown, it gives you movement speed as well. And it has pretty good scaling. You know, when you're outside of the jungle, you're gonna get your magical power is gonna go up by 8%. That's pretty nice, you know. So I overall do like that. Let me get a quick look on what the bottom skill of Ymir is, because that, you know, it's one of the issues we have to kind of deal with right now. On killing a unit, restore 2% of missing mana, increase to 20%. Okay, so that's kind of weird wording overall. But it's missing mana, so it's nothing too drastic. Astral Catalyst may be super interesting, especially with how the ult's gonna work. This might be the first time I might even recommend Astral Catalyst on this character. You know, it's something that I even kind of want to try out a little bit on Morgish right now. Because Morgish is kind of in the same kit. Just you have to hit that crest on first. You have to hit that RMB before you can ult, right? This character, you got vision of them, ult them, they're dead. They're donezo. And then you got Oathkeeper here. You know, empower your next basic attack. So you're going to do a ton of damage on top of everything. And if you have to really get into the fight, you get a little bit of tankiness. You get really good magic power. It scales really well. And, you know, if you throw it... I'm curious how this is going to work, though, with your passive. If your passive is applied, does that count as an ability? And will your next basic attack apply or get empowered? I'm not so sure about that, you know, so that's going to be interesting. And then Azure Core, you know, people always hear me, do not, and I continue to say this, do not build Azure Core first, but building a chemical rod first and letting it scale. Late game, you're going to talk about getting, even if you were to fully build it, you're going to get 130 magical power, you know, 120 magical power, like, you know, for a really cheap price. So looking at, you know, if you don't want spell break or, you know, you just kind of build a chemical rod, this wouldn't be a good item to test with. This is just a placeholder. This means absolutely nothing. Ignore True Silver. So another build I have on mind is called the carry on hit. I'm just interested in this because of that true damage he does. Every other attack is basically going to apply true damage, right? So that's crazy. And I think the best thing is an on hit build. You're going to get a ton of attack speed. You're going to get a ton of damage. Now you can go, I picked up a Vescurator, assuming that you can kind of play pretty safe with your spell shield, right? But that's kind of be a risk. You're going to get an increased attack speed, and you're going to empower all your basic attacks, right? I mean, it sounds phenomenal in a way, right? So you can definitely still get Liberator. That's with the cleanse? It's Liberator. I think it's this guy, right? Here, yep, Liberator. You can definitely get Liberator. I'd say it's between these. I say if you want a comfort, pick Liberator. If you're against a lot of CC, you're not against a lot of CC, pick up Eviscerator. I think that's going to be key. You know, if you need some gap close, Pacifier does not sound bad at all. It's just, you know, this sounds pretty insane for what's going to give you if you're just going to keep lobbing true damage, you know, an on-hit build. But you got the Stormbreaker. It stacks really well. It's super good. It's super strong. It gives you some AoE damage. I think you can stack it pretty safely, you know. Tainted Rounds is super solid because of just the damage that it outputs. It turns it into magical damage by default anyway. But I mean, you're going to be dealing a ton of on-hit damage. It's super useful to get Tainted. I think it's overall worth it. And because we're kind of missing out on Demolisher, this is kind of where I get a little bit questionable in terms of the carry on hit. We can't get Demolisher. You could look at picking up Caustica, but like you're not going to see that much magic damage being built at this point. So it's a little bit iffy to go Caustica. You know, I'd probably look at getting Caustica, maybe 4th item or last item, and then get Sky Splitter because you're going to get a lot of people with increased HP, right? Then you take Resolution. Resolution is going to give you some penetration, which is going to be super nice. Although it's physical pen, so that's the one thing I'm questionable about. What's it going to do in terms of that? You know, how is that pen going to work? Is it going to be, you know, I'm a little bit questionable on this build overall, but it's something I want to try out and see how it interacts with the system, you know, because it's going to give you that magic damage on hit and you restore 1% of missing mana on hit, you know. And this is kind of where right here I actually was debating on throwing in Mind Razor, or what if we ignore Caustica, we throw in Mind Razor, we get the extra mana stack on top of Resolution, because this is based off of maximum mana, so you get 2 items that are scaling off max mana, right? Maybe you don't need Caustica, maybe you don't need Tainted Rounds, right? Hopefully someone else will build Tainted, and you kind of base it off that, right? Because Mind Razor is a really good item, it looks like, on this character, you know, and you want to apply that true damage, and you get a ton of attack speed overall. So maybe it is worth either getting rid of Resolution and applying Mind Razor, getting rid of Tainted Rounds and applying Mind Razor, because when you go Mind Razor, you know, and Stormbreaker, that's going to be 2 things you're going to have to basically level up, right? So it's the one gamble there, right? It's something that you gotta worry about. And once again, I'm not very big on the attack damage items. This is kind of the things that I see a lot of people build, and I kind of want to try them out if I was to take this character out into carry lane or wanting to go AD in the mid lane, right? And then, you know, Eviscerator, flawless. That's what I think. So physical damage as usual. I gotta say it, I would love to try this as a regular ADC build. Take out Vanquisher, take out Sky Splitter or Tainted Rounds, because once again we don't have that pen. Maybe we can look at taking Mind Razor first, then getting Vanquisher, then Sky Splitter, you know, and then Imperator is going to be just flawless, right? And then at this point though, we're going to get 1, 2, we're going to have 2 crits. I'm still curious how that crit is going to apply on the true damage and overall on his whole kit. I'm just curious how that crit's going to apply. So it's still weird to me to see, like, you know, I don't know if it's worth going, like, Mind Razor is good on the on-hit build, right? But then when you want to go crit's pretty dang nice, but I don't know how that true damage is really going to stack on him that well. And one thing on top of this, the carry on hits and all that, is one item, Onyxian Quiver. I'm interested to see how the fire 2 additional projectiles and all that, you know, how is that going to apply the passive? Is that going to be an item that's going to be really good? And on Onyxian Quiver is also Bone Seeker. You know, you get to mark the target. Now you increase your damage dealt them by 2 for 4 seconds, and it stacks up to 10 times, right? Like, that sounds pretty crazy too, but then you're going a bit more on the tankier side. You're not getting any true raw physical damage at both of these items. So it's a little bit like weird, you know? I'm excited to just see how the community and how we all plan to try and build this character because I think he's gonna bring a lot of variety. And on top of that is we're gonna spend so much darn time figuring out this build, right? We're gonna see item number 6 coming in, and every single item's gonna change. So it's like, it's gonna feel kind of wasted. I feel like everyone's gonna work so hard, and by the time everyone really gets some builds down, boom, we're gonna see item change coming in, and everything's gonna get, everything's gonna get changed. But this is the overall build. These are some things that I took into consideration, and I kind of wanted to share, because I know some people are interested and don't know the items that well. And I know items about magic power, and I know physical a little bit. And this is gonna help me understand the items better, and hopefully it'll help you guys understand the items better. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you guys did enjoy this, if you think I sucked and I need to get better at doing something, let me know as well. The goal is for all of us to learn and enjoy Predecessor, right? All together. But on that note, if you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you want more of this content. I stream every day around 6 to 7 Eastern. And yeah, so on that note, take it easy, have a good one, good luck in your games, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.